Barcelona's history, tradition, and cultural influences make it an unequivocally Mediterranean city. The capital of Catalonia, the second biggest city in Spain after Madrid, Barcelona is a festive city that will carry you away with its colors, gaiety, cosmopolitan way of life, mild climate, proximity to the sea, architecture, and at night, its caliente movida. Famous for Gaudi and his extravagant architectural works, it has something to offer everyone, big and small, from entertainment and culture to good food. To get a bird's-eye view over the city of Barcelona, go up on the Montjuïc, a hill near the port on top of which rises an ancient military fortress, the Castel de Montjuïc. The imposing Montjuïc castle has dominated Barcelona since 1640, and the panorama from the castle's bastions is breathtaking. The Palau Nacional, also on the Montjuïc, is a majestic building in the neo-Baroque style that was built for the 1929 World's Fair. Now home to the National Museum of Art of Catalunya, it is one of the places that is most connected to the city's historical memory. The MNA is one of the most beautiful museums of medieval art in the world, and gives the visitor an in-depth understanding into the many important influences in Catalan art and the impact they have had on the artwork of today. The views over Barcelona and the Mediterranean Sea are spectacular from the Montjuïc. They can be enjoyed both from the Montjuïc Fort, Castel de Montjuïc, and other viewing points on the hill. At night, the Magic Fountain is an awesome display of color, light, motion, music, and water acrobatics. It uses some 4,700 lamps and 3,000 kilowatts of power, which are synchronized with jets of water for a spectacular effect. The first performance of Montjuïc's Magic Fountain took place during the Great Universal Exposition of 1888. The oldest part of Barcelona, the Barri Gothic neighborhood, has preserved many splendid examples of medieval and Gothic architecture from the 14th and 15th centuries. Compared to other major European cities, the Barri Gothic neighborhood is still surprisingly intact, having remained largely untouched over the centuries. The historical heart of Barcelona is the Barri Gòtic, where the city's ancient history is brought back to life by strolling through its dense network of characteristic alleyways and narrow streets. Go to this neighborhood in order to understand Barcelona's Gothic soul, where the darkness of the Middle Ages and the colors of the Gothic merge in perfect harmony. It should be visited on a sunny morning when the multicolored rays of light illuminate its darkness, and in perfect solitude in order to enjoy the sacred silence that pervades it. The Plaza del Rey is the noble heart of the very Gothic neighborhood. Splendid medieval monuments line the square, including the Palau Real Mayor, the medieval royal palace, and the Lloctinent Palace, which once housed the archives of the Crown of Aragon. The square, enclosed by walls and medieval buildings, is at once forbidding and beautiful, and offers a fascinating glimpse of Barcelona's medieval past. Today, the intersection between the two main streets of the Roman city is the location of the modern city's two most important political institutions, the Town Council and the autonomous government in Sant Jaume Square. On weekends, the Plaza del Pi hosts a Fira Artesana, also called the Honey Market, where producers from all over Catalonia come together to sell their organic goods. It is famous for its wines, homemade cakes, and glorious honey-infused cheeses. Santa Maria del Pi stands on this charming square in the Old Town. The Blessed Lady of the Pine Tree is a 14th century Gothic church whose otherwise rather sober main facade is relieved by a large rose window and by a pointed arched doorway with a Gothic statue of the Madonna. The church is named for the pine tree, pi in Catalan, that once stood nearby. Barcelona faces onto the sea, a geographical position that has made it an important gateway throughout its history for knowledge, traditions, culture, and commercial goods from places near and far. This inexhaustible source of wealth, not only from Europe, but all the Mediterranean countries and beyond, has long found welcome in the capital of Catalonia. The seafront, which stretches from the foot of the Montjuïc to the district of Barceloneta, is followed by the stretches of beaches running from El Poblenou to the mouth of the Besós River. This stretch is one of the reasons for Barcelona's existence, the mark of its status as a maritime capital, and proof of its undeniably Mediterranean personality. The Barceloneta, once a neighborhood of sailors and fishermen, is now one of the city's most popular beaches, crowded with restaurants serving pescados and mariscos, and kiosks playing live music, where you can dance till dawn. Before the Barcelona Olympics in 1992, the city's abandoned harbor was a run-down area with empty warehouses, industrial buildings, refuse dumps, and railroad yards. In a major urban renewal project, the area was transformed into a yacht marina and entertainment center, opening the city up to the sea. The Port Bail Marina is the port of Barcelona's public pleasure port. The city underwent a massive restyling in time for the 1992 Summer Olympics, and for the occasion, artist Roy Lichtenstein was commissioned to create a public sculpture. The resulting work, called Barcelona Head, stands at the entrance to Port Bail. The Rambla de Mar is a splendid walkway and bridge over the harbor waters, running from the Portal de la Pau to the Dock of Spain, or Mall de España. This Rambla of the Sea, which also forms a natural continuation of the Rambla de Barcelona urban promenade, is now perhaps the best-known symbol of the Port Bail. The undulating shape and integration into the landscape of this singular promenade is a popular attraction for locals and visitors alike. Another important building on the seafront is Barcelona's Port Authority. Designed in 1903 and completed in 1907, it is now classified as an historic and artistic architectural heritage. On the seafront stands a monument to Christopher Columbus. This 60-meter high column was erected in homage to the famous explorer, for for the Universal Exposition of 1888. Barcelona architecture is, in reality, an attraction in itself. Just stroll around the city, especially through the Gothic quarter and the Ramblas, and you will find an endless amount of fascinating buildings and unexpected architectural treasures. From Roman times to the Gothic period to the Catalan Art Nouveau or Modernisme, Barcelona's architecture naturally transmits the city's rich history. The unique and colorful Rambla, popularly known in Catalan as Les Rambles, is undoubtedly the most lively part of Barcelona and a good place to get to know the city at close quarters. The Teatre Principal in the Ramblas district was the first building in Barcelona expressly designed to hold theatrical performances. The basic outline of the building derives from the reform project of the architect Francisco Daniel Molina. La Rambla was once a stream whose name, according to popular belief, derives from the Arabic Ramla, meaning sandy ground. From their upper end, which runs into Plaza de Catalunya, to the lower end below the Columbus Monument, this unique street has in fact 5 distinct names, each referring to a section of the street. Once a gateway to rural Catalonia, the mile-long road bustles with tourists, artists, human statues, fortune-tellers, dancers, and musicians. Everyone has seen human statues before, but nowhere are there more of them than on Las Ramblas. It's like walking through a sculpture museum, only in this one, the sculptures just might jump out at you. The Ramblas de las Flors is the quintessence of Barcelona, with its ever-changing beauty that follows the seasons of the year. Founded in 1847 on Barcelona's Las Ramblas, the Gran Teatre del Liceu is an opera house that has retained its role as a center for culture and the arts throughout its history. Now it has become one of the symbols of the city. It is the work of architect Miguel Garriga y Roca and was originally designed to hold 3,500 guests. The magnificent Baroque exterior of the Esglésies de Betlem stands in stark contrast to the austerity of Barcelona's other churches. Barcelona was founded on the Mediterranean coast between two rivers more than 2,000 years ago. It is located in the northeast of the Iberian Peninsula, just a short distance from France. Romans, Arabs, and Christians all left their mark on Barcelona over the centuries. Traces of this diverse history created by contrasting cultures can be found all over the city. From the Gothic quarter built on Roman ruins, to the Art Nouveau Example district dominated by Gaudi's exuberant architecture, Barcelona is undoubtedly a city of contrasts. A visit to the splendid covered market of the Boqueria, in which sweets, fruits, vegetables, and colorful fish are artistically arranged as if in a painting, with careful attention paid to shapes, sizes, and contrasting colors. The market was constructed with its current metal framework at the beginning of the 20th century, but the earliest records of the market's existence date back to the 13th century. It covers an area of 6,000 square meters and holds more than 300 booths. Situated on the left-hand side of Las Ramblas, the Plaza Real has become another of the city's central meeting points. The Plaza Real is one of the most imposing squares in Barcelona, and the only one lined with porticos. Plaza Real's charm comes from its tall palm trees, streetlights, and the large fountain that graces the heart of the square. The exquisite street lamps were designed by a very young Antoni Gaudí, considered the greatest exponent of Catalan modernism. Barcelona is a city of interesting and important museums that provide an essential supplement to the traditional tourist routes if you want to discover the city's best-kept cultural and artistic secrets. Specializing in a variety of themes, visitors will find museums to suit all tastes. Some are unique, some are internationally renowned, while others have a special charm that makes a visit well worth the while. The Barcelona Museum of Contemporary Art, or MACBA, is one place that should not be missed. Every aspect of the museum is interesting, from its magnificent collection of modern art to the impressive white building that houses the museum, designed by American modernist architect Richard Myers. Gaudi is widely recognized as one of Catalonia's geniuses. His appeal is universal, yet his fame is inextricably tied to the city where he left his most amazing creations, Barcelona. Here we'll see in detail some of the marvels created by this versatile and unique architect, Antoni Gaudi, that form the priceless cultural heritage of the city of Barcelona. Casa Milà, commonly known as La Pedrera, is the largest civic building designed by Antoni Gaudi. Its source of inspiration is difficult to define. Some say it resembles the honeycomb structure of a beehive. Others say it resembles, in texture and design, a porous sandcastle nearing collapse. The building does not use load-bearing walls, but rests on pillars and arches. This technique, together with the use of steel, allowed the architect to design a completely irregular floor plan. On the outside, the undulating balconies look like a series of waves. The wrought iron balconies are the work of Josep Maria Jujol, who improvised their design during construction. It breaks with traditional architecture by not using even one straight line. In the 1950s, the attic was converted into apartments. The original structure has since been recovered through a slow and painstaking restoration process. Undulating walls made of rough chipped stone suggest fossilized ocean waves. Doors and windows look as if they were dug out of sand. There are two large curvilinear internal courtyards, which provide light to the interior spaces. The top floor attic and extraordinary roof are open to visitors. The building has a unique wave-like appearance, and its roof is supported by 270 brick arches. From the architect's origins through his early work, to detailed analyses of his main projects in Barcelona, to a stupendous series of models, all demonstrate the fusion of art and technique in Gaudi's work. The roof is probably the most extraordinary aspect of the building. It features a number of colorful surrealist chimneys. The undulating roof is tiled and dotted not only by helmeted warriors, but also by several bulbous sculptures covered in a mosaic of white tiles. The Sagrada Familia is a work of great brilliance and ambition, as well as of giant aspirations. The church may be considered a Bible in stone, owing to the many Christian symbols that Gaudi placed on its facades. These include Adam and Eve, the 12 apostles, all the major episodes in the life of Jesus, and the main symbols of the Old Testament. The Sagrada Familia is indeed a monument that could be used as an introductory crash course to the Catholic religion. The importance of this building is not, however, exclusively religious. It is also the book of Gaudi, the clearest lesson of his way of building, a kind of testament in which Gaudi applied all the structural solutions that he had studied and tested in his different works. The Passion facade includes over 100 contemporary sculptures evoking the Passion by the sculptor Josep Maria Subirats. Desolation, nakedness, pain and sacrifice all accompany the death of Christ and form the prelude to his resurrection and ascent into heaven. Gaudi often said that had he started with this facade, people would have rejected the Sagrada Familia outright. The Passion door appears harsh and naked, as if it were made of bones. Through a larger portico supported by 6 large leaning columns that appear to be trunks of a sequoia tree, an immense pediment rises with 18 smaller columns, supporting an inner portico. The lack of decoration concentrates the tragedy and the dramatic main events, presided by the naked figure of Christ at the moment of his death. Gaudi was deeply influenced by nature and its forms, as is evident in the interior of the Sagrada Familia. The columns of the church soar overhead, forming a ceiling with the feel of a canopy of trees. The architect developed a sensuous, curving, almost surreal style that established him as the innovative leader of the Spanish Art Nouveau movement. Gaudi became obsessed with the church to the point that not only did he focus all his creative energies on it, but he set up residence in his on-site study as well. In 1926, Gaudi was hit by a streetcar while crossing the Gran Via in the center of Barcelona. 3 days later, never having regained consciousness, the great architect and visionary died at age 74. The Catalan Art Nouveau cultural movement, with its extraordinary vitality and artistic qualities, is one of Barcelona's main tourist attractions and one of the best reasons for getting to know the city. Even today, Modernisme, as it is known locally, still characterizes the city, giving it its special charm. One of Gaudi's most famous works, the colorful Casa Batlló, is known for its elaborate decoration and forms derived from nature. The Casa Batlló, a remodeled 19th century building, is one of Gaudi's many masterpieces in Barcelona. The facade of the Casa Batlló is made of sandstone covered with colorful trencadís, a typical Catalan mosaic made of ceramic. Balconies on the lower floors have bone-like pillars, while those on the upper floors resemble pieces of skulls. The significance of the facade has long been a topic of discussion. For some, Gaudi's aim was to build a symbolic hymn of the legend of St. George, the patron saint of Catalonia, and his mythological victory over the dragon. Another interpretation of Casa Batlló is that the whole facade is an allegory of Carnival. The first work that Antoni Gaudí would offer the city of Barcelona, and which is now listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is Palau Güell. Gaudí was only 34 years old when he received the commission to build the private residence of the Güell family. The final result was a masterpiece in Gaudí's darkest style. The facade of the Palau Güell, with evocative Venetian lines, is built with a stone of severe appearance, which highlights the wrought iron design covering the tympana of the two parabolic entrance and exit arches, and forming the majestic coat of arms with the Catalan emblem, conceived as a small colonnade. A good example of Barcelona's Modernisme architecture is the Arc de Triomphe, which presided over the entrance to the 1888 exhibition. Designed by Josep Vilaseca, it contains various pieces of sculpture, like the one in the front, titled Barcelona Welcomes the Nations, as well as the coats of arms of the other 49 Spanish provinces. The design is distinguished from other well-known arches by its colorful brickwork and mudéjar style, a style with origins in Moorish architecture. In the late 19th century, at the time of the Universal Exhibition of 1888, Barcelona was a bustling city in which architecture played a major role as an indicator of the social status of the then flourishing bourgeoisie. Having a modernista house meant that one was keeping up with the trends of the social elite. To meet the expectations and vanities of their clients, architects use their whole repertoire of resources in their work. Floral decorations, rich sculpture and wrought ironwork, undulating forms, stained glass, graffiti work, and ceramic details. The Parc de la Ciutadella is a public garden and exhibition space where visitors can find art-filled buildings designed in a style typical of Spanish architecture. The most ambitious urban planning project in Barcelona of the late 19th century was the brainchild of Gaudi's main patron, Eusebio Guer, who bought an old rural estate of 15 hectares called Can Muntaner de Dalt. The estate was to be converted into a luxury garden city, complete with the construction of a housing estate of 60 private plots and large common greens. Gaudi devised the idea of a bucolic retreat for the highest bourgeoisie of Barcelona, and its location on the hillside at a distance from the city was an ideal means of symbolizing the metaphor of the ascent to paradise, to Eden. The project, however, was a total failure. Development of the estate began between 1900 and 1904 and was definitively halted in 1914. The heirs of Eusebio Guer sold the site to the city council, which decided to preserve it as a public park. The main gate of Parc Güell, featuring a brick wall decorated with mosaics, is protected by a wrought iron railing and flanked by two evocative pavilions that depict the story of Hansel and Gretel, which was performed as an opera at the Liceu in late 1900, the same period Gaudi began to design the Parc Güell. The main staircase is parted by a small waterfall featuring the famous multicolored dragon of glazed ceramic trencadís. The stairs lead to the Hippo-style hall. The 100 columns, though it actually has only 86, was originally intended to be the market of the future housing estate. The hall was decorated by Gaudi's assistant, Josep Maria Jujol, whose creation was given carte blanche. The result was exceptional, an undulating ceiling of mosaic with varied incrustations forming capricious spirals. From the Hippo-style hall, two paths lead to the Great Circular Square, a marvelous belvedere overlooking the city. According to Gaudi's initial design, this square was devised to collect rainwater, channeled down inside the columns of the Hippo-style hall, to be collected in a huge cistern with a capacity of 12,000 cubic meters. The square is surrounded by a winding bench of trencadís in which the imagination of Gaudi and Jujol achieved an extraordinary boldness, considered by some specialists a forerunner of abstract art. The bench is a symphony of colors. Greens, blues, and yellows are used in different combinations, forming moon shapes and stars and abstract flowers. Color, however, fades away gradually from left to right, and at the far right the bench is mainly white, the symbol of purity. The bench seems to hint that human life is a kaleidoscope of colors that culminates after death in heavenly white. The white of this part of the bench, however, is not a pure white. Here Gaudi used materials that have been rejected in other buildings, such as Casa Batlló, precisely because of the impurity of this white. Gaudi preserved the natural undulations of the park's terrain, giving it a network of twisting roads that follow the contours of the land. The park is set into the hills overlooking Barcelona. Serpentine terraces, seats, galleries, and arcades are ensconced into the hillside, forming part of the park's peaceful atmosphere. The unusual structures set in the park's typical Mediterranean vegetation are a curious mixture of fantasy and spirituality. Gaudi lived in this house from 1906 to 1925, the year before his death. It is called the Torre Rosa, or Pink Tower. Other unusual features of the Parc Güell are its bridges and viaducts, with twisted grotto-like columns. Barcelona, more than just a single city, is truly a collection of multifaceted and diverse cities. After a makeover lasting more than 2 decades, Barcelona has transformed itself into one of the world's most dynamic and stylish cities.